Next news. Breaking news.
Two stories just slammed right into each other, and every American should be paying very close attention. On one side, an Ebola outbreak in Central Africa is expanding, with hospitals reportedly struggling and officials warning the true numbers may be far higher than advertised. On the other side, federal agents say that two NIH-linked researchers tied to Dr. Fauci tried to bring undeclared pathogen samples into the United States on a commercial flight from the Congo. No, this wasn't like a NIH-sanctioned private jet. This was a commercial flight with pathogens. Just like the movie 12 Monkeys. I mean, where are they getting this stuff? Think about it, okay? At the exact same moment, the public is told the risk is contained. The FBI is announcing criminal charges over that smuggled biological material. So the question is no longer just about disease, it's about trust. And here's why this matters. See, the primary story is not simply Ebola, it's not only the criminal complaint. The real story is that Americans are once again being forced to ask whether the institutions handling dangerous biological materials are being honest, competent, and transparent. According to the FBI and Justice Department, two foreign nationals working at the National Institutes of Health were officially charged after investigators say they lied to Customs and Border Protection at Detroit Metro Airport. Agents allegedly found, ready for this, 113 vials. At least 18 were verified as monkeypox as of this report. Another says additional vials included chickenpox virus and human DNA material. Senator Ron Johnson is already calling for a full investigation into every co-conspirator, and he's right. President Trump has made Homeland Protection a priority in his second term, and this is exactly why strong borders, strong screening, and zero tolerance for elite misconduct matters. Americans were burned badly by public health establishments before. Now the biosafety question is back, and this time people are not blindly accepting the talking points. And when trust in institutions gets shaky, smart Americans start thinking seriously about what they can still control. Now, if you could go back in time and buy oil before the world relied on it, would you? Of course you would. Anyone would. So why aren't you buying silver right now? That's the big question. See, the people who recognized oil early, they didn't just make money. They got ahead of one of the biggest economics in history. And today, a very similar opportunity is unfolding with silver. See, silver is more than a precious metal. It's a critical resource used in solar panels, electric vehicles, defense systems, AI infrastructure, and the massive technologies that's powering the future. That's why I want you to check out Noble Gold Investments. Go to nextnewsgold.com, and you may qualify for a 1/10 ounce gold coin. That's nextnewsgold.com before this window gets a lot smaller. Now back to the story, because the timeline here gets even more troubling. See, the government is trying to send two messages at once. The outbreak overseas is serious, but the homeland remains protected. Fair enough. But that becomes a much harder sell when the FBI says researchers tied to NIH work connected to Dr. Fauci allegedly brought undeclared pathogen material into America from the same region dominating the outbreak headlines. Even if the charges, they center on monkeypox and other biological samples, not Ebola itself, the public connection is immediate. Post-COVID, nobody hears lab, pathogen, and international transport and shrugs. They ask who approved it, who checked it, and who else knew. So here's what the FBI just posted. A news alert from FBI Detroit. Two researchers with the National Institute of Health were charged with conspiracy to smuggle monkeypox into the United States and giving false statements to federal law enforcement. National Institute of Health researchers. I believe that's a government agency. And they lied to federal law enforcement. That's what happened. The federal complaint alleges the researchers told Customs and Border Protection their case contained diagnostic and testing equipment. However, an investigation by CBP and FBI agents uncovered 113 vials, 18 of which had been verified to contain monkeypox. The investigation was conducted by the FBI Detroit Joint Terrorism Task Force, along with assistance from the FBI Billings, Missoula Resident Agency, the U.S. Customs Border Protection Team at Detroit Metro, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. FBI News Alert. So that's the first laying out of the charges. Next, the details get tighter. Prosecutors say these researchers flew in from Congo on commercial passenger jet. News Force reports it was smuggled on a commercial flight from the Congo. Commercial flight. 113 vials, deactivated monkeypox, I guess is what they're calling it, on a commercial flight from Congo, where an outbreak was occurring. Vincent Munster and Claude Quay, both scientists at NIH Rocky Mountain Lab in Montana, allegedly lied to Customs at Detroit Metro January 25th, claiming the large cooler contained only diagnostic equipment. Federal prosecutors say the men broke the law by transporting viral pathogens on a packed passenger plane from an active outbreak zone. What the hell are they thinking? An active outbreak zone. Hey guys, don't worry. Don't look in the cooler. It's just diagnostic equipment and some White Claws. Oh, those vials, nothing to worry about. It's not Ebola. It's not the monkeypox, guys. It's deactivated. Oh, but weren't you just on a flight with 250 people flying into this country from a frickin' biohazard country? Each faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted. 5 years. Can we do Fauci now, please? Can we just do Fauci already? So, viral samples from an active outbreak. Now, Nicholas Hulsher connects one of them to the Ebola work and says most of the vials still haven't been fully tested. Good God. Here, I'll just go to the clip.
This is another shocking story. So an NIH virologist, an Ebola expert, he literally goes in the Congo often. He has field sites in the Congo to catch Ebola from wild animals. And so he was caught at a U.S. airport earlier this year with undeclared biological samples, what are called select agents that appear to be, we know for sure, monkeypox, but as well, there could be other pathogens. There could be Ebola because we know he works with Ebola. He was caught at the airport, and this man, Vincent Munster, was linked or actually was actively involved in gain-of-function activities with SARS-CoV-2, with Fauci and colleagues. So you can't even make this up.
Nope, you can't make it up. It's like right out of a sci-fi horror movie. Now, Senator Ron Johnson is demanding that the gain-of-function cabal is coming apart, calling for every co-conspirator to be exposed. Is the gain-of-function cabal finally unraveling? Senator Ron Johnson, congratulations and thank you to everyone involved in detecting the smuggled monkeypox and arresting those responsible. A thorough investigation is necessary to identify all co-conspirators and prosecute them to the full extent of the law. He wants the whole network investigated, but the official line from NIH is very different. Up next, NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya says Americans face minimal risk from the growing Ebola outbreak.
It's bad there. We've taken every step we possibly can to make sure that the risk doesn't come here to the United States.
Yeah. What is that
for
risk?
The U.S. homeland, there's very minimal risk, and we've worked very hard, including funneling people to airports that are coming from the region, travel restrictions, and we have a dozen or more, you have dozens of places now across the country that are specialized places where people can get Ebola treatment if a case does happen to come in. Very low risk in the U.S. sort of big outbreak in DRC.
So that's the reassurance from NIH. Minimal risk to the homeland. Now Peter McCullough weighs in, arguing the real issue in Africa is sanitation, travel controls, not panic here at home.
People are sounding the alarm. So President Trump shuts down travel from Africa, from some of these nations being affected by the Ebola virus. Probably a good idea. But I don't think this is something we need to worry about, and they're already setting us up to scare us. I want to bring in now world-renowned doctor, Chief Scientific Officer at the Wellness Company. My good friend, Dr. Peter McCullough, is here. Doc, it's great to have you back on.
Thank you.
All right. Should we be worried about Ebola?
No, we shouldn't, Grant. It's the 40th outbreak in the recent decades in Africa. There right now are 129 confirmed cases that are test positive. It's a blood PCR test positive, and 18 deaths. None of those deaths got any hospital care, no ICU care. They die in the bush. Now, it is something public health authorities in Africa need to work on, but it's not something that is a threat to Americans. Ebola is a virus. It's spread by vomiting and diarrhea, grossly unsanitary conditions, unsanitary burial of corpses. It's just not something that's relevant to Western life in America.
So he says don't fall for the fear campaign. Keep the focus on basic public health. Next, he goes a step further, accusing the World Health Organization and corporate media of using this outbreak to prep the market for another Ebola vaccine.
I had read that 4 weeks before the announcement of the Ebola virus in Africa, that there was actually an approval, and the World Health Organization started talking about an Ebola vaccine.
Yeah, it's what the pharmaceutical industry calls market preparation. And because the WHO works hand in glove with vaccine companies, essentially the WHO is doing pre-market, preparation for a vaccine with all these fearful stories. There literally are hundreds, if not thousands, of Ebola pictures. They're typically grim, people wearing hazmat suits out in the jungle. In a study we reviewed on our Focal Point Substack, less than 1% of these Ebola-stricken areas even can wash their hands after they use the bathroom, Grant. So it's really a sanitation problem.
It's really a sanitation problem. So this is the moment the entire narrative changes. The issue is no longer just an African outbreak, and it's no longer just a criminal case at an airport. It's a full-blown credibility test for the public health bureaucracy. NIH officials say that there is very minimal risk to the U.S. homeland. The FBI says 2 researchers are facing charges tied to smuggling and false statements. Those claims can both exist on paper, but in the public mind, they collide instantly. That collision is the real bombshell. Americans now want to know how often dangerous materials are transported, what safeguards actually exist, whether elite researchers believe rules don't apply to them, and whether the Trump administration will clean up a culture of arrogance left behind by the former Biden administration's public health machine. Look, this is why accountability matters. This is why oversight matters. This is why the America First view on borders enforcement and institutional transparency keeps on winning. The Trump administration has every reason to push hard here. Expose every failure, make an example out of everyone who thought a government badge or research title gave them a pass. If the allegations are true, it wasn't a paperwork mix-up. This was a trust breach involving biological material, international travel, and federal deception claims. The American people deserve the full list of facts, the full chain of command, and the full list of anyone involved. So here's my question for you. Do you trust the same public health establishment that got so much wrong before to police itself now? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. Share this report with someone who still thinks the experts always tell the truth. If you want more real reporting with an America First backbone, subscribe, turn on notifications right now. But the real notifications come from me. Bypass the middleman. See that word on the screen, raw feed? Text those words. You might want to put a space in between it. I don't know how it works, but it's the number on the screen, 844-840-4963. That's how we get you the notifications that you demand, not when YouTube or any other social platform determines that you're not good enough for it, or our information is just too spicy. We're going to give you the truth, and that's how you get it. And I want you to celebrate America 250 with me personally. Hit the merch shelf below this video, find something you like, and support our work at the Next News Network.
The system controls information. Information control is power. I want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.